A case with the most insane twist you've ever heard. Documentary. Who is Thabo Bester, the notorious Facebook rapist? And what led to his capture in 2011, putting an end to his reign of terror? How did his capture provide solace and closure to those affected and serve as a warning about online risks? What shocking event unfolded on May 3rd, 2022, when Bester faked his death and escaped from prison? What are the conflicting reports surrounding his whereabouts, and what is the latest progress in the investigation? Join us as we dissect the specifics of this compelling real-life crime tale and work to determine the identity of the mysterious Facebook rapist. A look back at Thabo Bester's journey towards becoming the Facebook rapist. In 2011, the South African public became aware of Thabo Bester, an apparently charming young man in his early 20s who would later earn the notorious moniker of the Facebook rapist. His modus operandi involved luring unsuspecting young women with promises of lucrative modeling opportunities, only to subject them to the heinous crimes of rape and robbery. Bester, a skilled fraudster at the time, operated under various alliances, adopting as many as 13 different identities to conceal his true intentions and avoid detection by law enforcement. Among his numerous aliases were Tom Bester, Thomas Bester, or simply Thabo. He was known to assume identities such as Thomas Kelly Bester, Thomas Berger, TK, Thomas Kelly Young, Thomas Magagula, Thabo Magagula, Kelly Johnstone, Rufus Mahopo, and Thomas Rufus Reddy, among others. These aliases served as a cloak of deception, allowing Bester to continue his sinister activities under different guises and further complicating efforts to track him down. Bester's modus operandi involved specifically targeting young women, many of whom were in their late teens or early 20s. He enticed them with alluring promises of modeling employment, exploiting their dreams and aspirations. In addition to his direct approach, Bester also employed sophisticated email scams to manipulate his victims. Through these emails, he would inform the women that modeling agencies from around the world had expressed interest in them, fueling their hopes of a successful career. To add credibility to his schemes, the emails even included a phone number for a supposed secretary who would further assist in their supposed endeavors. Bester would also suggest that if travel abroad was not feasible, domestic employment options were available as an alternative. The combination of Bester's charm, convincing stories, and exploitation of vulnerable individuals created an environment where his victims felt compelled to trust him. It was this trust that he exploited to perpetrate his heinous acts, leaving lasting scars on the lives of those who fell victim to his manipulative tactics. The revelation of Bester's true nature sent shockwaves throughout South Africa, prompting widespread outrage and a determined effort by law enforcement to bring him to justice. His case highlighted the dangers of online deception and the need for increased vigilance when interacting with strangers on social media platforms. Thabo Bester, known by the name Thabo Magagula, served 2/3 of a 3-year sentence for fraud in Johannesburg under this alias before being released on parole in 2011. However, shortly after his release, he violated his parole, leading to an ongoing cat-and-mouse game with the police. Authorities suspected Thabo Bester, infamously referred to as the Facebook rapist, of engaging in multiple criminal activities, including the daily theft of 2 to 3 laptops. Additionally, he was allegedly involved in various fraudulent schemes targeting women, where he demanded payment for auditions, orchestrated elaborate photo shoots, and proceeded to steal belongings from both the crew and models involved. Since these incidents, Bester has managed to elude the police, leaving them in a persistent pursuit to bring him to justice. Bester, using the identity Tom Kelly, was flown to Cape Town with some models by a Joburg charter company shortly after his release from prison in July 2011. Naturally, they never received payment because the evidence of payment he gave POP was a forgery. For a photo shoot with 13 models, Thabo Bester also leased 2 buses and a photography crew. For the crew and models, he made lunch arrangements. He left with the cameras that were left in the buses while they were eating. Additionally, he paid the models a fee to participate in the photo shoot and stole their iPhones after duping them into believing the devices needed to be checked for security. He was found guilty of raping and killing his model girlfriend, Namfundo Tihulu, in 2012. He admitted killing his lover. Namfundo Tihulu was a mistake in court in August 2012. Bester claimed that Tihulu was the only person who had supported him after he had been falsely accused of crimes in Durban. Namfundo Tihulu, a young woman with dreams and aspirations of her own, tragically became a victim of his heinous crimes. The pain and loss experienced by her loved ones were compounded by the subsequent revelation that Bester, the man responsible for her brutal end, had managed to evade justice and continue his reign of terror for over a decade. Until he was fatally burned in a prison cell in May of last year, the Facebook rapist's story went untold for more than 10 years. The examination of Thabo Bester's escape and the burned body mysteries. On the early morning of May 3rd of the previous year, a disturbing incident unfolded within the confines of the Manguang Correctional Center. An isolation cell at the facility was engulfed in flames, with Thabo Bester, the inmate assigned to that cell, supposed to be trapped inside. The prison administration promptly notified the police and other relevant officials, informing them that the individual in the cell had tragically taken his own life while attempting to extinguish the fire. The grisly discovery of the charred body ignited a series of thorough investigations that would span several months, aimed at unraveling the shocking circumstances surrounding the incident. One of the first media organizations to report on the fire and draw attention to the subsequent death was Ground Up, a South African news outlet known for its focus on human rights issues. Determined to uncover the truth, Ground Up embarked on an investigative journey to understand how a prisoner could be allowed to die in such a manner and why a fire had broken out in an isolation cell in the first place. In the weeks following the incident, inconsistencies began to emerge, casting doubt on the official narrative. The autopsy report revealed that the individual in the cell had not succumbed to the fire, but had instead suffered fatal blunt force injuries to the head. Additionally, there were no signs of smoke inhalation in the lungs, yet the body emanated a strong odor of an accelerant, possibly paraffin. These findings led to a chilling revelation. The fire had been deliberately staged, and the lifeless body found in the cell was not that of Thabo Bester, but rather a carefully placed decoy. It became apparent that this was an intricately planned ruse orchestrated to facilitate Bester's escape. In preparation for the prison break, a substitute body had been introduced into the isolation cell, while Bester cunningly maneuvered his way inside, taking advantage of the cell's proximity to a fire escape. Furthermore, the location of the cell conveniently had limited coverage by the prison's CCTV system, adding an extra layer of obscurity to the escape plot. Reports and subsequent investigations alleged that Bester had greased the palms of several individuals, including prison warders and camera operators, to facilitate his escape. It was a meticulously orchestrated operation that involved bribery and collusion to manipulate the prison's security apparatus. However, the full extent of the conspiracy would only come to light after months of intensive scrutiny by officials. The realization that the burnt body was not that of Bester and the shocking revelation of his successful escape struck the prison authorities with profound embarrassment. It was an admission of their complete unawareness regarding his whereabouts and the alarming extent of the security breach. The escape sent shockwaves through the correctional system, exposing vulnerabilities and prompting urgent reforms to prevent similar incidents in the future. In the aftermath of the escape, multiple investigations were launched involving the police, prison oversight agencies, and the prison's operating company, G4S, a British multinational security firm. These inquiries sought to identify the individuals involved, uncover the intricate network of corruption, and hold those responsible accountable for their complicity in enabling Bester's audacious escape. The brazen escape of Thabo Bester and the subsequent revelation of the meticulously planned deception not only exposed the shortcomings within the prison system, but also raised concerns about the integrity and reliability of correctional facilities entrusted with the task of ensuring public safety. It served as a wake-up call, prompting a re-evaluation of security protocols, staff supervision, and anti-corruption measures within South Africa's correctional institutions. The pursuit of Bester's capture would continue, driven by the determination to bring him to justice and rectify the failures that allowed his escape. The incident would leave an indelible mark on the prison system, leading to comprehensive reforms aimed at fortifying security measures, strengthening integrity, and ensuring the effective rehabilitation and containment of individuals entrusted to the custody of the state. The search for Thabo Bester and Dr. Nandipha Magudumana. During the year-long period when Thabo Bester remained elusive, he appeared to be leading a seemingly carefree life under a new identity in the affluent Johannesburg suburb of Hyde Park. It was a stark contrast to the manhunt that had yet to be initiated, allowing him to fly under the radar and evade capture. In this clandestine existence, Bester found companionship with his girlfriend, Nandipha Magudumana, a 35-year-old doctor renowned for her expertise in dermatology and the use of medical treatments to address skin issues and enhance people's appearances. Their connection traces back to 2006, when Magudumana worked as an events manager under Bester. However, it wasn't until 2017 that she began visiting him in jail, developing a personal relationship that would transcend the confines of prison walls. During his time on the run, Magudumana became Bester's confidant and accomplice, willingly joining him in hiding, concealing his true identity, and offering him a sense of comfort and normalcy amidst their secluded lives in Hyde Park. The irony of their relationship was chilling. Magudumana, an esteemed doctor specializing in the field of aesthetics, possessed the knowledge and skills to enhance people's appearances, while her partner, Bester, hid behind a false identity, perpetrating heinous crimes and leaving a trail of devastation in his wake. Their coexistence in this tranquil, affluent neighborhood remained a stark reminder of the darkness that can often lurk beneath the veneer of normalcy. Ground Up, a relentless news outlet, demonstrated its unwavering commitment to uncovering the truth by refusing to cease its probing inquiries. It distinguished itself as the pioneer in shedding light on a perplexing situation, promptly publishing a gripping article brimming with intrigue, accompanied by captivating visuals. The piece showcased a man whose striking resemblance to Bester caught immediate attention, as he was seen engaging in everyday activities such as grocery shopping with Dr. Magudumana and her children. Curiously, it was a loyal supporter of the esteemed physician who stumbled upon this revelation, completely unaware that the enigmatic companion was, in fact, the physician's husband. This unexpected revelation ultimately spelled the end of the clandestine lives led by the duo. Inspired by Ground Up's audacious expose, other local publications followed suit, amplifying the impact of the startling discovery. In the face of mounting scrutiny from the media, Bester and his companion found themselves compelled to flee, seeking refuge from the relentless public scrutiny. The media coverage not only unraveled the secrets of this peculiar relationship, but also cast a harsh spotlight on those responsible for the nation's correctional facilities. The custodians of the country's jails were confronted with a barrage of difficult questions, their competence and integrity called into question. The exposure brought the spotlight to bear on their actions and decisions, demanding accountability for any potential lapses or improprieties. As the dust settled, the nation grappled with the aftermath, seeking to rectify any flaws in its justice system and ensure a more transparent and responsible approach moving forward. A parliamentary committee investigating Bester's escape has launched an ongoing inquiry and heard testimony from witnesses who believe that the police and Justice Minister Ronald Lamola were aware of Bester's escape last October, but chose to do nothing about it. Bester's victims have received an apology from Mr. Lamola, who claims that more details ought to have been disclosed at the time. While acknowledging a number of security lapses on the day of the escape, G4S, which was called to testify before the committee, has refuted claims that it should be held guilty. Following the controversy, the government has taken over control of the prison, and some of its workers have been fired as a result of the occurrence. The police defended their decision to remain silent about Bester's prison break by stating that they needed more information for their investigation before taking any action. However, MPs have condemned them for moving too slowly, while the murderer and rapist were allowed to roam the streets. The arrest of Thabo Bester and Dr. Nandipa Magudumana. Officials may have eventually acted quickly as a result of a combination of public pressure and relentless media coverage of the situation. The couple was found in possession of multiple passports bearing false identities when they were apprehended in the Tanzanian city of Arusha late on April 7th. According to the authorities, they reportedly drove through the Zimbabwean border from South Africa to Zambia, then on to Tanzania. The two are back in South Africa, where they are being held on additional charges of being apprehended, according to officials following a joint operation with Interpol and private security firms. Dr. Magudumana, Bester's purported sidekick, made her second court appearance since their arrest in Arusha. Separated from Bester, she made her appearance in a crowded courtroom with more armed security guards than attendees. She was bound in the dock, her head bent, and her ankles in heavy shackles. It was a stark contrast to her lavish social media persona as a sought-after doctor and supermom and wife, which included champagne lunches and regular trips abroad. She appeared frail, worn out, and shrunken in court. She has not yet entered a plea to the accusations, which include murder and fraud. These are in relation to 3 bodies, including the body discovered in Bester's cell that the doctor reportedly attempted to claim during the past few months as part of the escape plan. In connection with their suspected roles in Bester's escape, at least 4 additional individuals, including a former G4S supervisor and Dr. Magudumana's father, Zolile Sekaleni, have so far been placed under custody. Regarding the claims, they have not responded. Mr. Sekaleni, 65, stroked his daughter's hands while sitting next to her and occasionally leaned in to console her. Maybe both are wondering how that particular moment came to be. Bester will also get his day in court. He is being kept in a different maximum security facility. At his brief first court appearance, Bester scanned the room openly as cameras clicked away, in contrast to his ostensibly reserved putative accomplice, who seemed unconcerned by the attention. As he sat there was something sinister about him. However, life in jail without the possibility of parole is not an option in South Africa's penal system. Many have argued that this policy should be reconsidered, particularly when it comes to serious criminals. The risky prison break, the famous girlfriend, and the cross-border escape had all the makings of a made-up drama. However, in some ways, that alluring depiction obscures and minimizes what South African rapist and killer Thabo Bester actually accomplished. After each revelation about how this man was able to escape prison and go unnoticed for a year, many people were left speechless. But his victims had a different perspective. Additionally, it revealed a startling degree of official incompetence.